Hey there. Welcome to the GSPN Milwaukee Bucks Heat Game 2 post-game podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you may notice number 24 behind me. It's back.
He's back.
On an unrelated note to that, really great Pat Connaughton game tonight. We'll talk about it. I'm Ti Windisch, joined by my Eurostep co-host Rohan Katti, Win in Six's own Jordan Treske, and Jordan Treske's Talk of the Tundra fellow, the newest GSPN podcaster, Numac. Not that new anymore, Numac, but fellas, how is it going?
Fantastic. Never better, to be honest.
I like when the Bucks win.
Oh yeah, the Bucks won. I don't know if I didn't say that yet. Yeah,
Did they?
the Bucks did win. Rohan,
Did they?
I'm doing amazing. Amazing. I'm coming to you guys straight from Pfizer. It was an electric atmosphere. What a night.
What a night indeed. A 138-122 Bucks
Fakest
victory.
final score.
Yeah. I'm actually, you know what? I'm glad the Heat were red hot in the fourth quarter. It didn't matter. They got it down to 16. GSPN Discord was sweating. I wasn't that worried, to be honest, but they made it close. They shot really hot. The Heat end up shooting from this game, I don't know if you guys are aware, 44.4% from three, hilariously enough, after it seemed like it was going to be the opposite of the outlier shooting from game one. The Bucks did shoot an even better 51%. There's no denying that they were red hot from three as well. But they were just on fire everywhere. I mean, you look up and down the score sheet, and there wasn't an area the Bucks weren't really good at. They out-rebounded the Heat. They scored more in the paint. They had more second chance points, more offensive rebounds. I mean, it made sense they out-rebounded the Heat. They didn't miss enough for the Heat to grab rebounds, but they did more work on the offensive glass as well. This wasn't just an outlier shooting game like I think we could say game one was. This was just an ass-kicking game, and it was one we needed. Let's say up top, it's in the cron. Giannis did not play with the soreness. People at the game said he was moving around pretty good on the bench. He walked in. I thought he was not quite his usual gait, but he did walk in. I didn't see a big pad or anything. Going in, and I didn't voice this. I wish I had. I really do think this was the best outcome, even better than Giannis playing, assuming he wasn't going to be 100%, because now you get that full 6 days of rest since the injury before he's going to come back, and you get the comfortable win versus even a similar win to this one. If Giannis was hobbling out there, I don't think it would have felt as good. But this one, I think, feels really good. We'll go through some of the highlighted players. But first, Rohan, what are your thoughts on that? And also, we need a report card on the Bucks' atmosphere. Game one was lacking, as we talked about. This one seemed a lot better through the TV broadcast, at least.
It was a fantastic atmosphere at Pfizer. Everyone was up, everyone was loud, everyone was into it. It was so much better than game one, even though I wasn't in the building for game one, but game two was incredible. Pfizer Forum, you showed out. Bucks fans, you showed out. Good on you. But in terms of the game, honestly, like getting back to what like Giannis not playing, I was convinced he was going to play, considering they were doing the thing where he was doubtful, upgraded to questionable in the day, and it's like, okay, they're on track to have Giannis play. And then no, we were Jordan and I were at a coffee shop with shout out Justin Superbuck. We were there. We get the notification that Giannis isn't playing. I'm like, oh my goodness, well that shocked me. But you're right, Ty. This was the best possible outcome, assuming Giannis doesn't play. Because you get that game, you get the players feeling comfortable. Hey, we can go out there, we can dominate this Heat team without Giannis, without the best player in the world, because we're that good. We're that team. Game one, they were on a mission to show that game one was an anomaly. And I think that was a very successful mission.
Great word choice. Rohan, I think Jordan, you shared a video, I think, using similar verbiage earlier tonight. Did you not?
It's an isolated incident. Something you had to worry about. That's the illustrious words of the Bayshore Parker.
The Bayshore Parker knows. Jordan, what were your thoughts on the game and Giannis' status heading in?
Similarly to Rohan, kind of stunned that Giannis didn't give it a go because I thought it was the old rope-a-dope that the Bucks are doing with the statuses on the injury report. And Yeah, like I mean, you get rest. I think too, like if Giannis had played, like we're all gonna be in the back of our mind if any time he falls on the floor, anytime he gets an elbow in the back or whatever it is, just playing basketball, you can't play with that fear because you just think like the worst thing is ever gonna happen to the best player of the team. And credit to the team for really stepping up. It was a carbon copy of the Game 2 demolition against the Heat a couple years ago to start the title run. But a lot of the same ingredients really went into that one, especially after a shaky Game 1, how that title run started. And yeah, like you go through it, and there wasn't anybody that didn't or that stood out for the wrong reasons. Everybody stepped up. We'll get into individual players, but I just thought there was the palpable energy, intensity, everything that you wanted to see to start the playoff run. Yeah, we didn't get all of that in Game 1, but when it mattered most and when the Heat kind of faltered, to say the least, after the first quarter, the Bucks just ran it down their throats, and it was just amazing.
Numac, former newspaper man. I need to tap into some sources. Is Giannis playing Game 3? What do you think?
I think he plays. We'll get into that in a second. We are burying the lead, fellas. The Bucks tied the record for most threes in a game, in a playoff game.
Yeah, they almost broke two different 3-point team records against Miami. I really wanted Marjon Beauchamp. Playoff debut, Marjon
That'd
Beauchamp.
have been cool.
Rohan saw history for his guy. That's special. Let's not forget that.
Bucks made 25 threes, tied with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016 against the Hawks.
Bud's
revenge.
Bud's redemption. Oh yeah, baby.
Something interesting.
You went full. That's how it feels.
Right. Something interesting I found as well. They had 35 assists in this game. I was just curious as to what the most assists were in the game. It's a bunch of teams from the 70s and 80s with
the pace was insane then.
With the upper 40s, and I think the Spurs hold up with 51. But way down towards the bottom, you get into like the modern era. The most since, I guess, on this list, since 2000 is the Raptors in 2020 with 39. The Bucks had 35.
Yeah.
So they were like close to achieving a record for most assists since in the modern era.
That's a really good goal.
Yeah,
it is.
What an all-time game. Like, I think all of Bucks Nation was quite nervous just all day long and all of this week after the loss. And Jordan shaking his head no.
You're getting tissed by your co-host.
I'm getting tissed. I had palpable anxiety. But coming out, they came out hot, and it was good to see just the beatdown happen pretty quickly after the first few minutes of the first quarter.
I think we need to start with, I mean, the biggest, outside of what, like the result and the overall good vibes from the result, the biggest individual player I think that it's worth mentioning is Pat Connaughton. I mentioned him up top. Pat goes from out of the rotation to, I would say, the best role player in this game. I think Jrue was phenomenal. And I want to talk about Jrue in a little bit too. Just quietly averaging like 13 assists through the playoffs so far. Talked about PG Jrue had one of the best assisting seasons for any Buck in the last like 20 years. He's carrying that over, but like doubling it in the playoffs so far. I think that is a very important takeaway for this Bucks team. But Pat, 8 for 12 shooting overall, 6 for 10 from the field, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 turnover. 22 points, was third on the team behind Brook and Jrue. We'll get into Brook. Brook's not a role player, by the way.
No.
If you're thinking about, I snub Brook. Brook is core 4. That's a different level. But I thought Pat was sensational. It wasn't just the shooting. I thought he just looked a lot better, a lot more comfortable all around. I mean, I think outside of Khris, there was not a Bucks wing who played better. Ingles more of a point guard, and maybe even if you count Ingles, although he was shooting the ball hot too, I thought Pat on both ends just looked really good. I think his driving was something that we've seen him do it in small samples, doesn't always do it a lot. Felt like he drove per minute more than we've seen in quite a long time in this game, and the results were good. I mean, he could have had more assists. He had a really nice one to Khris late in the game that Khris ended up missing, but it was nice. I just thought overall, really strong Pat game, and you've got to think, even if the team can hopefully get healthy and West comes back, and of course Giannis, I think Pat has earned some more run. He was phenomenal in this game, and I don't think it was just about shooting threes, although it was great to see him make multiple threes in a game.
I mean, yeah, that's what Pat Connaughton brings. That's the allure of Pat Connaughton, is not only his ability to shoot the ball, which he did damn well tonight, is his ability to attack off closeouts, just to be a slasher in general. This team in general does not have a ton of slashers. They don't have guys who can get to the rim in a blur, which is why I was really, really excited about the Bucks drafting Marjon. It's like, oh man, an athlete. That's awesome. But Pat's one of those guys who can really create off the bounce, off the catch, and attack closeouts really, really well. And he showed that. The problem with Pat has always been, like, especially this season in particular, has just been he's been making dumb mistakes. Like, this entire season, he was making dumb mistakes. He was not playing like the Pat Connaughton we know and love, and he wasn't shooting the ball well. It was just a rough stretch. And with the Bucks and their plethora of options at the wing, it's okay to say, hey, yeah, Pat, you're not going to be in the rotation now. But if Pat is able to do Pat Connaughton things like he showed he can, he's a vital rotation piece. He was a key piece to the title run. He was the only bench player to play in that Brooklyn series. And he showed that by the way, he can still be that player. Even if he's not going to go nuclear like he does in this game, he can still impact the game in so many winning ways. He can attack the defense. He can draw the defense in towards him, and he can make smart plays if he's locked in. And he looks locked in to me. I mean, how do you go from not playing in a playoff game to that, from game 1 to game 2? That shows concentration. That shows intensity. That shows playoff Bucks basketball.
Jordan, oh no, go ahead, Numac.
I think it's worth noting, bringing back a Eurostep adage from the title run. Pat Connaughton, 16-game player.
I was going to say, in the words, Jordan, of your great co-host, Adam McGee, who ripped to Adam's sleep schedule even more if he had made this one 8 p.m. Central start, so just not playing in Ireland. So hopefully Adam's getting some Z's. But Pat is nails. And I do think that it's not totally random, play random, pod random, that Pat would have a big-time performance in... did the Bucks need Pat to win this game? Maybe not. He did blow it open, though. I do think he's the reason it was basically over for a half. But I'm not shocked that if he's better in the postseason than the regular season. I do just trust him, even after the bad season, more than some other options on the team. But Jordan, what were your thoughts?
Well, I think a lot of our skepticism and just watching how Pat's season has unfolded, it was valid. And part of it, for me at least, was he had a really rocky start and has battled through injury, and that's going to affect your performance, especially a guy that, like, a lot of his injuries were like calf strains. I feel like I'm repeating myself because I've said the same thing about Pat for a long time, but like, he's battled through calf strains, he's battled through muscle injuries, stuff like that, like over the course of an 82-game season, and even before that, because it all started during preseason, just hasn't found his rhythm. And I don't think, like, Pat's games where he, stands out for all the wrong reasons, I wouldn't necessarily call it like bad process and bad results. I think he was doing the things that Pat has gotten really good at, and it just wasn't clicking. You know what I mean? Like, you're forcing it, and then, you're turning over the ball, you're pushing or putting up too many shots when, it's not going in. All that stuff that, like, forced a lot of people to be like, hey, now you make the move with Jay. Joe Ingles is getting healthier. We saw, Wes has been in and out, but we know that he could be reliable for the same reasons. Grayson's been on the uptick too. Like, I saw a lot of people talking about how Pat could easily follow the rotation. And a performance like this is exactly why you do not judge a February game or like 3 weeks in March of, like, him not playing. Like, that's it. You're done for the playoff rotation. Everybody is going to go through that when you're a player of his ilk. Bobby's gone through it. Wes Matthews has gone through it. We're kind of seeing with Jay right now, like, health hasn't been on his side, and you hope for the best, but you easily have a game later in the playoff run that really shows why you get him. Like, that's where, like, we've had a lot of questions in mailbags, and again, I've seen people talk about it too. It's like, do not write off anybody on this team, on this roster, because you never know when you're going to have to need them again. And when West was out, when that news came out, it obviously opened the door for Pat to go into the rotation. And then something like this happens where it's not just like, oh, Pat's back. Oh, it's Pat's back and he's coming with a vengeance kind of thing like that. And I kind of think like sneakily think of this like the last, however, the way his season ended kind of helped him to kind of just like get right and get back to 100% because he has not been, in rhythm all year long. So it has been a long time coming for him to just break through that glass wall and just, hit bombs.
I think it shows the importance of role players. Like it shows that goes to prove why the Bucks' depth is so important to this team. Like outside of the core four, they can count on one of Pat, Jingles, Jay, Grayson. We can go down this list and just name that any one of these role players can step up on any given night to really push his team over the edge to get a W. Like this was Pat's career playoff high tonight for 22. Two points off of it. 2 points off of his career high at 24. So like this is, like Rohan said, a nuclear Pat game. So you're not gonna get this every night, but it shows the fact that if they can do it, it can really propel this team towards some pretty great things.
Yeah, I think I'm encouraged by the extra driving, which is something we talked about a lot with Grayson this season. And I just think it really helps you be more playable if the shot does come and go a bit. Also, still, they didn't do it as much. I think it makes more sense with Giannis, but the short roll Pat stuff has been interesting too. Like he's a sneaky good pocket passer from the high paint, and I just think he's just become so useful. He's become so good at everything, and he's never going to be able to hang on elite offensive wings, but I think he generally does better at it than Grayson, and I think it's a huge development for the whole playoff run that he had a game like this and that he can get more chances, especially Crowder, 15 minutes, 0 for 4, did not score, 3 fouls. Defense, I would say, looked better than game one. I didn't think remarkably better. I don't know. He had to exit the game for a little bit. I know he's had a calf thing bothering him as well that missed some time with earlier in the season, although he did play 24 minutes in games 81 and 82. He went from 11 in game one to 15 in this game. A little concerning. Especially against a team that, like I noticed Javon didn't play very much in this game. He had 14 minutes. Maybe because the Heat just don't really have any guards. Kyle Lowry played 18. I mean, Gabe Vincent's a guard, I guess, but they're
getting hurt kind of.
Yeah.
Gabe's having Javon out there.
Yeah, I just think there's like so many basically little wings and mid-sized wings that the Heat use that Javon's a little less important. But you would think that would then make Crowder more important. He really has not put his stamp on this series yet, I would say. Had a flagrant for kind of grabbing at Jimmy's ankle, which the league was not going to let go after the Sabonis-Draymond thing. Luckily, no one got stomped. But, Jordan, it seemed like you were more optimistic about Crowder earlier in the pod. What did you think about his game?
It was tough. I mean, he at least hit a shot last game, but I thought he's still trying to find it. I don't know. I think there's a reason why the Bucks have tried to keep his workload down a lot. And whether he finds it or not, I do think they have security in what they have beyond him. Not like this where Pat just goes off, like obviously reinforces that, but I would feel comfortable with that regardless. But I do think I would maybe say his defense looked a little bit more engaged. I thought, I know Jimmy got he got 25, I think, by the other night, but they made him work really hard for it, a lot harder than what it looked like in game one. And Jay did play some effect to it. Probably would have seen him a little bit more had he not gone in the locker room. So yeah, I don't know, it's just a tricky thing. I think obviously throw him in the same boat as West now with his calf strain, and I think that's going to be just an everyday, or not every day, but something to monitor throughout the whole playoff run. But I don't know. I'm still holding on hope for Jay, but I know it has not come as easy as we probably would have liked to see, considering the circumstances around him coming in the first place.
Two quick things. I forgot to mention when you were talking about Pat and the time off, Jordan, Marcus Johnson on the on the Bally broadcast said he had a great week of practice, early in his minutes, not when he had already gone off. he said Pat had a tremendous week in practice and that he feels great. So that backs up what you said there. And then Crowder did play again after going in,
That's
I
right.
believe.
Yeah,
So it's not hopefully as concerning. We never know though with Bucks injuries as we've encountered so many times. Rohan, your thoughts?
I mean, I tend to be a glass half full type of person. So we'll say like there's
Can we pull up some 2021 Nets pods? Can we verify this claim? Polyfact is.
I have grown as a human being.
I think the variance on Rohan goes both extremes.
Yeah.
It's like the Bucks 3-point shooting.
Right.
Exactly.
Rohan tasted caviar in the good seats at Fiserv, and his whole outlook on life is different.
No, that did not happen. But like
it was capers.
I was with Jimmy Haslam.
Oh boy.
More on that later. Rohan, okay, talk about whatever we're talking about.
But in terms of like Jay Crowder, I think the only way to go is up, realistically. Because like you mentioned, Ty, I think you were underselling it when you said he hasn't really put his stamp on this game. It hasn't been good. He has not been good in his minutes, like for the Bucks in these given limited sample size of 2 games now, where he's playing limited minutes. And maybe this is just a tough matchup for him because, like we were talking about earlier, the Bucks have like the Heat have these hybrid guard wings, and they only have like one big physical wing who like Jay Crowder would be tasked to guard, and Jimmy Butler, but it's like, okay, the Bucks already have like Jrue Holiday to do that. They have like another like big body guy and like potentially like Khris Middleton takes some of that load sometimes as well. And when he's healthy, Giannis can be that guy. He's like the Bucks and Jay Crowder are more, in my opinion, more built to face a team like Boston, where they're just loaded up with wings, but not necessarily against the Heat. I think this is just a tough matchup for him. And as the Bucks advance, which they will do in this series.
Ooh.
Is it a hot take to say the Bucks win this series?
No, but starting with Numac, what's the updated prediction for the series?
The updated prediction for the series for like the result?
Yeah. I've got this locked in.
Yeah.
Same.
I think it's Bucks in 5.
I would agree with Bucks in 5.
Yep, Bucks in 5.
Uh-oh.
I have
Agreed.
What did you say, Joe?
I said agreed.
Agreed. Okay.
Agreed. I thought the Bucks in 3. I was like, I don't think we can do that anymore.
Yeah, all right.
We're gonna pledge to Adam Silver. Take back the Heat's Game 1 victory and give it to Milwaukee.
Do we file a protest? Someone get Mark Cuban on the line.
Kevin Love used the basketball as a weapon, and this cannot be tolerated. The Warriors are embarrassing.
They're being too physical.
The Warriors.
He's using his body on rebounds, and it's
Do you
being
think
too
Kevin
physical.
Love would have gotten ejected if Adam Silver was in attendance? Where was Mark Tatum?
Yes, thank you guys.
I
have a spicy take.
Oh,
the Warriors dynasty is going out sad. Go ahead. I just wanted to say that. What they're putting out to media right now is really, really sad.
Big care and energy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a spicy take or an optimistic take. You guys can decide. I think Jay Crowder has a performance this playoff run that is equal to Pat's tonight. Like a 6 from 10 from 3.
Yeah,
and just
I agree with that, actually.
Absolutely goes off
because this is
propelled us to a win.
This is how he operates. He's going to shoot 2% in this series and then 90% against Cleveland or whatever. Like that is traditionally. So yeah, I buy that. I think he's totally going to have. I'm not giving up on Crowder. I want to be clear.
God,
he hasn't played well, but there's going to be room for runs.
If he just gets more run, he'll get into the swing of things. Like he hasn't been just like that guy playing with the starters all the time since he's been acquired. So
yeah,
with time, and hopefully that he has a good mark on this run.
Numac,
go ahead. Bad matchup.
Yeah.
Just a bad matchup.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know if next round would be much better if it is Cleveland, but I do agree with the Celtics. So hopefully he can just get healthy and feel good for that series. I don't know how badly they need him to go follow around Isaac Okoro, for example, but nonetheless. Numac, pick a player we should talk about next. Of course, I went into Pat Connaughton and Jay Crowder as the first two. So,
Numac, there's a correct answer here.
There is a correct answer. It's Brook Lopez.
There we go.
I actually, real quick before you go, Numac, I just saw a quote from Jim Ozarski, friend of the program, from Brook. It's about a different player, but quote, "How fun is it to watch Joe talk after he makes every one of his threes to the opposing team? turn around and do his little shout and everything. We had fun tonight. We need to keep that energy going from the big fella, Brook Lopez. Couldn't agree more with all of that, to be honest.
Could not agree more. It's so much fun watching Joe Ingles talk shit.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like the best ever.
He
like
pointed. I couldn't believe he didn't get tagged.
The same energy that Joe Ingles had pointing at whoever flew by him was the same energy that Jordan Nwora had falling backwards when he crossed the guy up. Like,
Nwora is just physically funnier. Ingles could never be that funny, but he's consistently funnier on a more routine basis.
Yeah.
But Lopez.
I was saying in the Discord and all to anyone that would listen to me in real life that they needed to get Brook involved in the post to start game 2 early. And that's exactly what they did. And I'm happy that they played inside out for the first half quarter, 3/4 of the first quarter. And then once they started needing to protect the basket from Brook, just started chucking from 3 and making it on a high variance. So they recognized that they didn't take advantage of Brook's size and utilizing the size to their advantage in game 1 and came out like, yeah, we're going to do this now and promptly hand the Heat their asses on a silver platter.
It was so beautiful. Like you mentioned, Numac, to see the inside out basketball. This is something we were like praying for Bud to listen to us on the post game 1 pod. And shout out Bud, he came through. Game 2 Bud.
He listened.
He did.
Games 2 through 7, Bud, unmatched. Game 1, Bud, let's not talk about it.
You know what? He does it to get his team fueled up, underdog mentality. You know, he wants to fuel that mentality. It's actually calculated.
Is Bud the mayor of Mequon, the underdog? Bobby's got Milwaukee. Bud can have somewhere. I don't know where Bud lives.
We do know where Bud lives. Yeah. We shouldn't say it out loud.
Yeah, let's not dox Coach Bud.
Right, we can't dox them.
I didn't mean to. I hope it's not. Is it there?
Let's move on.
Oh, they said. I think if we eliminate one city in the state, I don't think that's doxing the guy.
It's not Mequon.
No.
None of us live in Mequon. There, I equally doxed the 5 of us and Coach Bud. Now everything is square.
Just GSPN things.
Brook
Lopez. Brook Lopez was dominant in that first quarter, and that's what they needed. Like, that's how the Bucks managed to start and build their lead early, because Miami was hanging in there early, but they just kept feeding the big fella. He kept making plays. He kept doing that even throughout the game, even though he was less featured because the Bucks were just raining threes down. But he was classic Brook Lopez. Whenever the Bucks need a guy to step up in the postseason, it's usually Brook Lopez. That's what happens. Think about like all the way back to his first playoff series, or not his first run with the Bucks, game 1 against Toronto. Like, Brook Lopez won them that game in the Eastern Conference Finals. He's been doing it every year since then. There's always a game where it's like, okay, who's going to step up here? Who's going to will us to victory? It's Brook Lopez. He's been that guy. He is that guy. And he's continuing to have an incredible, incredible career. Best season, probably best all-around season of his career. And he's showing how he can still be a dominant force and why he needs a new contract immediately.
He may not be the depoy, but he's our boy.
Nice.
I can't stand you.
You're welcome. No, I agree wholeheartedly. I think, honestly, part of the reason why the Bucks just rained down on threes was because they were just eating the Heat alive in the first quarter. I think they had 26 points in the first quarter alone. And a lot of that was getting Brook rolling. It was getting Max Strus. Oh, good Lord.
He was Strus tonight.
They put him on a drying rack, or why can't I think of the
washboard?
Not a washboard.
A clothesline?
Let's do a washboard. They ran through him. It felt like anytime Jrue Holiday saw whoever was being guarded by Max Strus, he's like, we're doing a ball screen right now, and we're going to run through this motherfucker. That's what he was doing. Every time. Max Strus, you're going to live a series of just an unfortunate events.
Okay, Lemony Snicket.
Yeah. Anyway, I think part of the reason why the Bucks had their 3-point explosion was helped by Brook just feasting inside and all the attention that Miami's defense was getting closer into the paint, and they were pretty lax on closing out to Buck shooters after that first quarter. And it just kind of like, that's where like all the offensive questions and just like having that like kind of balance dynamic, like when things just get muddied and it gets a little bit harder, or they're just jacking up shots because, you know, they have a 30-point lead. I mean, we saw that at multiple times tonight, but it still didn't matter all that much. Like, that's where if you don't have that balance of like inside, outside, outside, inside, whatever it is, like it all works in tandem. And Brook, more so just lifted up like Giannis would. They just kind of repurposed the offense that way. It wasn't always clean with Bobby, who I'm sure we'll get into, because, you know, having two guys that like to post up, ISO, all that stuff, like it can get gummied up. But obviously, you know, you live with that when you're just kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah, Brooks boxing out was terrific. You know, that's the thing. There's a take out there that Brook is not a good rebounder. That is an uninformed take. Bobby Portis had 15 boards. Brook had 4. You know, I would wager that Brook did as much to secure those 19 total rebounds as Bobby did. And that's no shade to Bobby, but that's how the Bucks operate. Brook was 12 for 17 from the field, 12 for 16 from 2, so that's over 70%. Made his only free throw. The Heat shot a lot more free throws, by the way. 23-8 free throw attempt advantage for Miami. Didn't matter at all. But again, if you're looking for signs that this wasn't just anomalous shooting and nothing else, there is another one for you. Brook had 25 points. I just looked this up. Brook has scored at least 22 points. Actually, no, at least 24 points in the playoffs. He has done that 8 times. Sorry, 9 times. This is coming together, I promise. What team do you guys think he's done that with more, the Nets or the Bucks?
Bucks, easily.
Yeah, Bucks.
Well, he's known as, you know, an all-star post go-to guy with the Nets.
They won one playoff series with him on the roster.
They went to the postseason at least twice when he was on the roster. He was a go-to guy. I mean, it's a fair question.
He missed one though because he had
I'm sorry, Ty. I didn't mean to shit on him.
Anyway,
so we're all just like,
here's the more fun part of the stat. Okay, I told you it would come together. He had 29 for the Bucks in 2019. He had 24 for the Bucks in a game in 2020. He had 33 and a couple other 25s in 2021. He had a 25-point game in last postseason, and now he's had a 25-point game this postseason. So every Bucks postseason, Brook Lopez has had at least one 24-point game, which I think is just remarkable. I mean, he comes through. I forget, was Rohan said this or Numac? I don't remember, but like Brook is the guy who comes through, and he always picks a spot and just does it. And I think it really speaks to this guy at, you know, in his early to mid 30s, at least once per playoff run, he's going to give you that big 24 plus point per game. 24 point plus game. I can't talk, but Brook rules.
It's
Brook
late.
fucking rules. That's what matters.
Yeah, I think it goes to show just how good the rest of the Bucks offense is, and that we don't need Brook to do this very often. Like, if the Bucks wanted to, they could lean on Brook every night to do this and really play up his inside prowess and then trail on threes to make those as well. But they don't need to do that. They rely on him on the defensive end, so he can just get his consistent 8 to 14 points a game, and just kind of be a DPOY candidate on the other side. So it just goes to show the depth of this team and how lucky we are to have a core 4 rather than a big 3.
A quick take before I let Rohan pick who we're going to talk about next. I don't think Giannis should drive at all when he comes back in this series.
Are the Bucks better without Giannis?
Oh my God!
More like Andrew Dull.
I'm not doing that. I'm not going to humor the take. He had 50 points in Game 6 of the NBA. Anytime someone says some dumb shit, I'm just like, go. We have the tape. You can watch it. He scored 50 points in Game 6.
Are we sure Brook Lopez isn't Batman?
No. Anyway, I don't think Giannis should drive at all. I want to do a real take. I don't want to do it. We know. We all know. Everyone listening knows. No one listening to this is like, I don't know about this Giannis guy. It's called the fucking Eurostep.
I need
You
a
should
Don
understand.
LaGreca type rant from Ty right now.
That's all you're getting. That's enough. It is late, and this is things we all know. There's no need to belabor the point. Giannis is him. We don't name our pod after random guys. He should just post up, though. Like, they should. There's no need to do all the drives that he was doing, and that's what he got injured on. Like, they should do. I think they could just do a much more effective version of the dual big offense we saw with Bobby, because the issue with that look was defensively, some of the Heat's best stuff was like Bobby trying to chase Gabe Vincent around screens, and it just wasn't going well. Giannis, that goes a lot better, right? Like, Giannis is maybe not screen navigation, not his thing. He's still better at it than Bobby Portis, though. Like, he is everything defensively. So I think, just get Bobby and Brook on opposite baselines, and wherever Bam isn't, get the ball over there, and that's going to be a problem for Miami, whether it's, passing to the other big if Bam comes over, passing to shooters if they go down. Like, they should literally just run Twin Towers when Giannis is back. And I don't know what Miami does. I don't know what the counter is. Haywood, Highsmith, more Kevin Love, who was horrible. Like, that's my Giannis take is just put him and Brook on opposite blocks and ping the ball around.
It's easy. Like, they just need to make it easy on themselves.
Yeah.
Like, this should have been a sweep of a series. Like,
I see you, but you're not moving. Or I hear you, but you're not moving is what I should say, Rohan. Now I don't hear Rohan either.
We might have lost him.
We might have lost him.
All the energy from the Bucks win put Rohan right out of business. His camera crashed. His whole thing crashed.
Yeah.
And that was the last time we heard Rohan Katti.
It's like the Stephen King movie with all the kids when they're walking down the street after they say, no, not it. The Stand By Me. When they talk about where each one goes. There he is.
Come on, but now Numac is Rohan.
We got a Freaky Friday situation going on.
I don't know
here.
what just happened.
I'm going to
It's all
try and
good.
fix this.
No, it's okay. I'll be Numac.
All right. Well, if you know, you know. Hopefully
I will be Rohan.
Hopefully I don't have to take a screenshot from this part of the pod. Everyone's going to be
Please
like,
do.
idiot.
It'd be really funny.
Rohan, pick a player to talk about.
There's only one way to go here. The Miami Heat got fucking jingled.
Oh, that's not who I was going to say. But come
I had
on.
2 players in mind, and he did not go either one of those.
There's a lot of good performances tonight.
Yeah.
The Heat got fucking jingled. I mean, I should bring this up. It's only fair. I've already done my full apology
Penance.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done my full apology. Joe Ingles is
Bend the
incredible.
knee.
Sure, that happened.
Another reference Rohan does not get.
No, I don't.
Absolutely not.
No. But Joe Ingles, he was out there. He was showing how much of a sharpshooter he can be. And it was just incredible to watch. He was on fire. He put the Bucks up 30 at the end of the first half. And it was electric. It was electric. He was talking his shit like Numac was mentioning earlier. It was so fun to watch. It wasn't even like we talked about for the post game 1 pod about, hey, maybe the Bucks should give Joe Ingles the ball a little more instead of just having him be like a catch and shoot guy. Like, hey, have him do some stuff off the bounce. He did that. He delivered because that's what he's best at. Sure, he can be a standstill shooter, but that's not utilizing him to the best of his ability. And the Bucks really went like, they were like, hey, Joe, you do your thing. And he did his thing.
We have a heater pair of quotes, actually 3 of them, but one's not related to this. Khris Middleton on Joe Ingles, quote, the slowest guy out there, probably the most unathletic guy out there, but he's a ball player. Joe Ingles on Khris Middleton, quote, has he not watched his own film? That's tremendous. No lies told, by the way, which is the funniest part. The other one I'll save for now, but I'm ready to run through a wall after reading a different Brook Lopez quote. Ingles, yeah, he's jingling all the way. I really like the game. I love that they put the ball in his hands more. That needs to continue when Giannis comes back. And wasn't really a defensive problem at all. Outside of the one, there's always the one foul, as Jordan said on the Game 1 pod. It wasn't totally his fault. He kind of got backed up into the 4-point play opportunity, but still not ideal. He always finds himself in one of those. But, when you're hitting threes, pointing at guys, flying out of bounds, talking a bunch of shit as Bobby did as well, not going to hold that against it too much. It was a fantastic Ingles game.
Obviously, more than what we expected from Joe Ingles. Part of one of the players that steps up in front of not having Giannis, but I think the whole point of we know why the Bucks went after him and the whole archetype that he brought to them, and just giving them another playmaker, someone that can lighten the load. Part of the reason I remember when we went through just like, this is your lone biggest resource in free agency, and you're making a big bet on someone who's injured and, comes with some questions about durability. What would he look like post-injury defensively? Side note, kind of like, he's not the greatest defender. I understand what Khris is talking about and all this stuff. He just has a knack for like making these like crazy real time, just like steals out of nowhere. Like Jimmy Butler threw this pass that like looked like a great, like gorgeous cross court pass. Ingles is right there and just snatches it away. Like he can process things. He may not be fleet of foot, but he processes things very fast and can make things, and that just gets the Bucks going. So also a side note to the side note, Bucks had 30 points off of 17 Heat turnovers tonight.
Love it.
Which that's Thanksgiving feast right there.
I did want to point that out on the pod I did with Giancarlo Navas of Miami Heat beat between the games, which now it would sound funny if you listen to it because I was a little bit nervous. The series was shaky. Who knows? I said turnovers for the Bucks could be Miami's path to winning this one because I just think the Heat offense wasn't going to be that good again, but if they could get out running, they maybe had a chance. The Bucks only had 11 turnovers. Nobody had more than 3 on the roster, which I think is just tremendous. Like, without Giannis, without that scoring, like would guys press? They kind of did late in the game when it was already over, but largely they took care of the ball. They made smart passes, and it really made it hard for Miami to keep up once the Bucks got hot around the middle of the game.
But back to my original Ingles point. He comes with playoff experience and has proven himself in the playoffs. Like I know like this outburst, may surprise Bucks fans. I'm not that surprised by it. I kind of think that we might see a little bit more of it too. Like he just brings a level of, I don't know, everything that we have seen in spurts, or maybe not full games, but like great stretches that have helped the Bucks throughout the season, especially since he's returned. Obviously, because he's playing. I think he just, I don't know. There's things about him that I despise, like the lazy fouls, but like when he's out there, I just like Pat, you just trust him. Feels weird to say that about someone that hasn't gone through the trials and tribulations and the triumphs and all that stuff. Another T word. But like, I don't know. Ingles kind of fits in exactly with what the Bucks and where they're at. Most importantly,
I hope he can stay on the floor in the Celtics series because he could be really beneficial in that series. But at the same time, he's slow, and I think a lot of the wings could have him for lunch.
He's like Jay Crowder.
He's going to poke 2 balls per game that series away from Jaylen Brown, and I personally can't wait for it. I'm with Jordan.
Jaylen Brown's going to dunk on him.
That's fine. 2 points is 2 points. Keep it moving. Yeah. Next possession.
Pitter patter.
Ingles outplayed Paul George in a playoff series once. That's all I'm saying. He's not appreciably less athletic than he was then either.
Yeah.
Because there was not much to lose. Well, that's a different. There's 2 of those actually. Hopefully. Maybe he'll have less of a role, but it's not like he's closing games now. That's the nice part about how deep the Bucks are. It's not like they need him to be a 5th starter or a 5th closer. He's neither. They have multiple other guys for those spots. Just being able to come in and give you 22, 25 good offensive minutes is a big deal. So, yeah, Ingles was sensational. And, I mean, outside of Khris, maybe Jrue, playoff Jrue, we'll see. He shot 40% from 3 in this game. Khris and he both did. Good. Yeah, Jrue was – I want to talk about Jrue next. I thought he was sensational. But off the dribble threes, Ingles is really high on the list of guys I trust to knock those down. Like that, it's like he's become really good at those.
He was hitting threes with like hands in his face. Like he doesn't have the
care.
fastest release, and it still didn't matter when
it's his length. Like, he's so big, like 6'8" and equally long wingspan, if not longer. He's just able to like. I think he does. I forget who does it like the best, but keeping the ball up when he shoots it, when he catches on catch and shoots.
That Connaughton thing.
Yeah, Pat
just
made that a thing.
Just so good, and it's very evident when he does it.
Okay, perfect segue for Jrue Holiday. This just came through from Eric Name of The Athletic. Yeah, really great quote. Jrue Holiday tells reporters that he told Giannis Antetokounmpo that they could hold it down for him in Game 2 tonight. Quote, I told him this morning, like, I know you're going to want to come back, but if you don't, just know we got you. Maybe that factors into the decision a little bit. I don't know. I think there maybe was some confidence there. I do think there was some confidence there on the Bucks side that factors into this. I don't know. Who knows what all goes into it. Jrue, 24 points, 11 assists, 5 rebounds, just 3 turnovers, and a steal. 10 of 19 from the floor, 4 of 10 from 3. He scored from all over the place, some beautiful finishes. I mean, it was a nice bounce back. Like we talked about on the first pod, it wasn't a good shooting night in Game 1. He did have 17 or 16 assists in that game. He comes back with 11 more. I think the way he's moved the ball has been sensational. And real quickly, I don't know how much we'll talk about him specifically. Khris didn't have a great shooting game. He was 2 for 5 from deep, but under 40% from 2. But he also had 7 assists. And I think the way both of those guys moved the ball and kept everyone involved was big. Again, as I mentioned something else earlier, keep that going when Giannis is back, because that is when the Bucks are at their best. There's going to be times when Giannis rightly takes over, but I think throughout games, having these guys move the ball around more makes the Bucks much harder to beat. But Jrue, I think, did it all and guarded Jimmy Moore, and I didn't really have any issue with anything he did. I thought it was a sensational game from a deserving All-Star and hopefully All-NBA guard.
Of his top 6 assist performances in the playoffs, 4 of them are coming against Miami.
Ooh, Numac at the stats.
Stats Numac.
When we have 4 people like this,
Talk of the Tundra to get this type of insight. If he's doing this for Bucks, imagine what he does for the Packers.
I have time. That's what we got right now. But yeah, 16 Monday or Sunday and 11 tonight. His other highs were 15 and 12. So he likes assisting against the Heat.
He's a good draw and kick guy because like he can get to the rim with ease against these Miami defenders. Mm-hmm. And he's just manipulating the defense to his advantage, and he's creating advantages and he's seeing the pockets, he's seeing the lanes, he's making good reads. Like this is something that we've talked about, at least Ty and I in the past, is just even if Jrue Holiday isn't scoring the ball particularly well, he's still having a massively impactful game on offense most of the time because he is just a special playmaker, which I don't feel is appreciated enough and has been for his entire Bucks tenure. It's just something that he really, really excels at. He will find guys in their spots. He will lead guys to the right spots. He will make sure that guys get the right passes at the right time. And he sees the floor so well. And this is a guy who, before he really got to Milwaukee, was considered basically a 2-guard.
People still ask about it, which I find crazy. This season, people have said, is he a point guard?
Move, right?
Yeah.
They wanted to make him a 2-guard because they wanted to have like a more natural point guard next to him. And
yeah, they considered him like a 3-and-D point guard, not like an actual like traditional like
right.
I tried to Patrick Beverly this guy, which is
like
sick.
I think they would have. I think the best case scenario in their minds would have been like Jimmy Butler, right? Where he's a lead ball handler, but he's not like the point guard.
I could see that, but way better.
Ooh.
Yeah, way better.
Yeah.
Better shooter, right?
One has won a championship.
This is true.
That's all I'm saying. Been there and won. Been there and won with fans, mind you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Been there and won, not having dribbled. Yeah. This ain't the bubble dribbling above your opponent's hotel room every night.
All right.
Bobby. We got to talk about Bobby.
Does anyone have Khris thoughts? Because I kind of just lumped he and Jrue together.
Khris did a good job getting to the rim tonight. He had a couple very nice drives. He was getting guys out of position. He was driving the lane really, really well off the baseline. And Numac is ridiculous. I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Khris Middleton.
Just got to the line.
He was getting to the rim with ease. He was doing good things. So even though he didn't have the best shooting performance overall, he was still I thought he had it like he showed flashes, and especially after his game one performance, which was ridiculous. Like we're still seeing good things from Khris Middleton.
I also thought a lot of the misses that he had were when the game was out of hand. Fourth quarter, especially because Bud is not going to let what happened in Toronto earlier this year happen again. And yeah, I mean, he was really driving on Gabe Vincent. He really took advantage of that mismatch. It was very similar to how Jrue operated too. Like they got things going and they're pushing the pace. That was a key thing for them just to keep operating with not a set defense, get Miami on the back of their heels, all that stuff that kind of just, obviously culminated in everything that happened good offensively. I don't know. I know Khris had the lesser of the stat line, but I don't think we should forget the importance of when the game was, I guess within reach before like 3 minutes in the second quarter or whatever it was. I thought they really just kind of pushed the tone and made it for, or set it up for what the game ended up being.
Definitely agree. All right, Numac wants to talk about Bobby Buckets.
Before that, I was real quick.
All right, it's taking over.
Nope, just one last thing on Khris. Talking about the misses, 3 for 9 in the second half, as opposed to 6 for 16 in the whole game. So significantly worse once the game was pretty much out of hand. So just reaffirming that.
One of the misses from 2, he basically got to tackle Kyle Lowry after, which was sick. So I'm not even. I wasn't upset.
Sick.
I wasn't even upset, to be honest. He used the basketball as a weapon. He really did, and he almost got a jump ball out of it. I love the physicality in this game, and that's a good transition to Bobby, who, again, mixed it up with Kevin Love a little bit.
Which it was so good.
I will never be mad at after, obviously, what happened with Kevin Love and Giannis earlier. Bobby becoming the de facto enforcer in non-Thanasis minutes has, I think, been delightful. I mean, I don't know if this is a controversial take. Probably not among Bucks fans. I love the bully ball Bucks. Like, I think it's great. I think my best Bucks experience is when you watch the game and you're like, the other team fucking hates this right now. Like, this is not fun. This is not like a fun basketball game. This is like fast, like speed running through a prison sentence. That's what I want it to be like to play the Milwaukee Bucks.
We have a quote. This is by Dario Melendez, a Pat Connaughton on the Game 2 bounce back. People think we have a lot of nice guys on this team, but don't mistake our kindness for weakness. We'll rip your heart out.
And they do. That's not a quote I saw coming from Pat. I don't know what's going on in the business world lately for him to be acting like this.
He lost his ass on a mortgage.
I mean, I hope there, what was that, SVB? Did Pat have money? I don't know. Let's not speculate, but he's upset about something.
Pat's bid to buy his share of the Bucks, but didn't go through.
Yeah.
He's like, oh shoot, I got to play basketball again.
Trying to get 1%. Yeah. He wasn't actually excised from the rotation. He took a break, but he had to come back.
I have to go back to my day job.
He quit baseball for basketball and then basketball for finance, but then was lured back to basketball when the Bucks needed him most.
On Bobby, you said it great in the Discord, Ty, during the game. Watching Kevin Love flop on the foul that Bobby had on him and look in disgust was amazing.
Bobby looked disgusted by his presence, and I didn't disagree.
Yeah, strong agree.
Bobby the bodyguard. I
He
love
really
it.
is.
I know he didn't have the greatest game, and obviously he's of note because he takes Giannis's role in the starting lineup. Doesn't matter. It's the energy, it's the activity on the boards. They really manhandled the Heat from the get-go on just extending possessions, clearing the offensive or defensive glass and the offensive glass. Got to see a couple threes from him, which is nice, and the ball looked a lot better. Wasn't completely flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just everything with that, like, I don't know, like it's just so crazy how I view the Bucks. I will speak for myself, maybe not for everybody, because it's my lens of it, and I don't want to put words in other people. But like, we go through the title run and just this calamitous and incredible like roller coaster of emotions. And I just after that, and even I know like last year ended in disappointment and everything like that, but I just like it just these guys are just so hardened by all of these experiences that they have gone through. And it's like, yeah, you don't have Giannis. We've been through this before. Khris is dealing with his stuff. They've gone through no, they have not. They've gone through experiences where they've been without guys at their best or without them at all and stuff like that. And it's like they don't take shit anymore. It's crazy. Like just like I don't know. I just love seeing that like intensity, and like I think part of it is because everything about the Bucks is overlooked in the fact that, you know, it comes on the screen when I'm watching the game that this is their 7th straight playoff appearance. And I know this is not all with Bud, but like that is not nothing at this point. Like they have gone through, even going through first round misses and all that stuff. Like they have been through hell and back a lot of times and have seen everything you can see come playoff time. And just like this, like a game where you're without Giannis, like it's a big deal, and they make it feel like it's not. Like that is kind of special. And you know, maybe it's just for one game and things are going to be a little bit tougher when you get down to Miami, but I don't know. It speaks to the character of this team and just where they are and just how obviously the depth of this team specifically, but like the people that have been through all these experiences and they're saying all this. Pat just saying we'll rip their heart out, which still very disconcerting to me. But like, I don't know. It just shows that they have, you know, really kind of just have looked at all these things and just be like, yeah, we are who we are. And that is the most honestly, that is everything you want to see as a fan, because that is exactly what we root for day in and day out.
I believe only Boston has a longer active playoff streak. I think they have 9 right now. So the Bucks 7 is second. I mean, think about all the teams that have been great over this run, and they've all had a gap year or more. Golden State, Toronto was in the high lottery. Obviously, Cleveland missed a couple years after all the ones with LeBron. So it's not easy to do. I mean, it's really difficult to do, honestly. Bobby Portis did have a career high tonight. 5 assists in a playoff game. The previous best was 3. So shattered that. And the ball was moving, and Bobby was moving as well. I think that's something I noticed a couple times in the regular season, and it was nice to see that carry over. Plus, of course, 15 boards and decent amount of points. And I mean, I thought it was a good all-around game for Bobby, if not outstanding.
Shot well, 5 for 9 from the field and 3 or 4 from 3. So I thought Bobby played great. Plus the energy, plus the talking shit. That was great.
Khris calming down Bobby after Tex becoming like a recurring thing in the playoffs is just great.
I'm loving it.
Khris never has any patience for it. I'm sure everyone likes the energy. Khris, though, is just like, it's not worth the point, Bobby. Come on. It's every time. Yeah, exactly, Jordan. Just come on, man.
Just one notch down.
Stern Khris is my favorite. Just like, hey, come on, dude. Trying to win.
Do we have any thoughts on Miami's performance? Because I do have a few.
I didn't think they were. I don't know how much went wrong for them in outlier fashion outside of the Bucks 3-point shooting. Like I think if you look at the box, like I kind of expected it to be worse for them. And you look and it's like, oh, Duncan Robinson had 14 points on 4 for 6 shooting. Oh, Jimmy had 25 on 8 for 12 shooting. Bam was 56% from the field, 20 points. Like, it's not like a bunch of guys laid an egg. I just think they're undermanned and they're just not good enough, was my takeaway from this game. Like, they shot 53% from the field, 44% from 3, and drew way more free throws, and it was never a close game.
They're an 8 seed versus a 1 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And an 8 seed without one of their 2 most important offensive players.
Yeah.
Yeah. Playing against a 1 seed without their most important offensive player.
Yeah, for sure.
Equal footing, right? Equal footing, right? Is that what we talked about this week?
I don't know, man. Reggie Miller would say the Heat are more of a disadvantage.
They
That's
they
right.
got a good Victor Oladipo game too, and it just
Yeah, they dusted
didn't
him
matter.
off.
Yeah,
He dusted it.
they did. I mean,
I have a sneaking suspicion that they're going to put him in the starting lineup for Robinson.
that's just.
I think they could go either way. Like, it's the same thing either way. Like, you get Duncan Robinson, who is probably not that great, or Victor Oladipo, who's probably not that great. Like, it's a horse apiece, and the horse is on 3 legs.
I just think the paint's gone if they do that.
It's
Which
gone anyway.
probably-
What?
It's less gone. I mean, they made 16 threes. It's not like they. If Vic starts, I just think they're gonna score 2 points in the first 5 minutes of the game, which maybe they have to do that. I also one interesting thing from the Heat beat crossover from Yanni. I never know if it's Gianni or Yanni in that case, Giancarlo. He's been worse with other primaries than he had, and you can kind of see it, right? Like his effectiveness was like, okay, Vic, just go take the ball and do something because Jimmy needs to rest. Apparently, he's not been as good playing with this, so we'll see if that factors into it at all. But Jordan, I think to your point, is there a great option here? Not really. I mean, Max Strus and Gabe Vincent are already the other 2 starters, so it's not like we're working with a stacked deck here if we're the Heat. Thankfully, we're
Cody
not.
Zeller?
Listen, hey, 2 for 2, 8 rebounds in 12 minutes, plus 17. Cody Zeller, I think can play. I would rather start him than Victor Oladipo.
You gotta tip your hat to Bob the Builder.
Wow.
Sorry. I don't know. It was just kind of a weird night
at?
because we didn't even see. I know we saw.
What?
Kevin
Wait,
Love, and he was-
what did Rohan just say?
What did Rohan just say?
They're all
pass this
quiet.
I said, Kai, you looking at?
Oh, I thought you said Ty you something. I was like, whoa, what about me? Oof. Oof.
No, I thought it was just a weird night because like Robinson got a lot of his shots late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They got hot late. Gabe Vincent hit some shots. He scares me. That guy scares me. He's a Bucks killer. I'm gonna die on this hill.
Duncan, oh my God. So you're not kidding about Duncan Robinson. He was 5 for 8 in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He's 1 for 2 at the third.
He was
or
5 for
third.
7 in the fourth quarter.
There you go.
So he was 0 for 1 and then made 5 shots in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That 0 for 1 was in like the first half, and it was an air ball. It was not
Yeah.
good. So I think that's something to watch going forward. Is if that somehow, some way, Duncan Robinson found his Disney magic, then that could be a problem.
I do think they
Like,
were
I'm
generally better
serious,
at taking
like-
away threes. I think they just got a little lazy in the fourth. But
I agree, but it's something to watch,
it
Yeah.
is.
You don't want someone to catch their rhythm.
Yeah.
right? Which is
But like
very,
even
yeah.
it was, I don't know. It was kind of weird that we didn't see Kevin Love all that. Like I don't.
11 minutes.
I don't think it's weird. He wasn't playing well.
I'm glad I didn't see him.
I don't. But like that. That
Like
is
Jay
a way
Crowder.
to really stretch out the Bucks defense, and I just thought it was a weird card that
And
Bo
they're
didn't pull.
even smaller with him playing less. That's the other thing. They didn't play Zeller until the fourth. So it's like, I mean, their biggest player then when Bam sat, and Bam only plays 25 minutes, was Caleb Martin, who's like a 3 that they call a 4 and is now basically having to play 5. That roster stinks.
It's it's a roster reflective of an 8th seed.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. There's some things that because the Heat have this allure and it's Heat culture and all this stuff, it feels like it's like, oh, it's games and shit. We already took a game in Milwaukee, so we're
Heat culture lost by double digits to Atlanta remains my favorite tweet of all time.
people will look into like Spo playing, 40 chess and Bud as,
Simpleton Bud. Doesn't know anything. Can't figure out how to coach.
But I don't know. I there's part of me where it's like I do think that they're not going to go down lightly. Certainly, I mean their best players played well,
Yeah.
both Jimmy and Bam. But it's like they're playing a game where they're not taking as much threes, and that is the only real like volume wise. That is the only way that you really dismantle the Bucks, and if they're not going to really kind of test that, especially with Hero down, like I don't know.
I mean, if we're talking about what else the Heat could do besides the threes, Bam has to go after Brook physically, and these middies are nice, and he can make them effectively. But if you got to get Brook in foul trouble, I think. I just, especially, like, usually this would be so you could score. They've done a pretty good job of scoring, even with Brook out there. I don't think he's had the same paint impact, but they clearly have nothing for him on the other end. And I just think if Brook's able to play his game, he had 2 personal fouls in this game. They didn't challenge him very much. I mean, maybe his impact was better than I'm selling just because they weren't in the paint all that often, but I think they need to be a little more physical. Bam just settles for all these jumpers, and he makes 50%, and they lose his minutes by 20 points.
I said during the game. Go ahead, Jordan.
I might push back on paint impact for Brook because I know we haven't seen like crazy block numbers and all that stuff. The thing that makes the Heat historically really tough for the Bucks is that it's not just about ISO or one-on-one matchups and stuff like that. It's how they punish you going through screens. Like we still see it with I thought the Bucks did a lot better. Obviously, Grayson was certainly a standout with just Duncan Robinson didn't really test him, which is kind of interesting. Pat did a really good job of navigating screens, but it's the constant off-ball movement that if the Bucks take that away, and a lot of this is the help side defense, but having someone like Brook always stationed there in tandem with the guys just, try not to let people cut, you to death and all that stuff. That's where I kind of give them some slack of okay, you're eliminating at least those options that the Heat, will have in their arsenal. Even if it means that Bam is getting 20 and he's, hitting mid-range shots. I'm sorry, Rohan and Adam. But that kind of stuff that will happen that I don't know. I will give some slack to Brook in that way.
That's fair. That's a fair distinction. Also, you saying that made me realize the Bucks basically took away all the free points Miami had in game 1. They had no transition leakouts, and they really weren't able to cut the Bucks to death after they did a little bit of that in game 1. So again,
there is a possession where I can't remember where it was. Maybe end of the first, beginning of the second. It's they're running this 5-man unit that's been out there for a while, and you see the assistant coaches after a miss. It was during the second quarter. Now that I think about it, they're yelling at Bobby to be get back up on the floor. And he's been on there for 6 minutes and just doing it all Bobby things. And it's they made a point to not give them the easy stuff. Eliminate that from your repertoire. It really showed.
If only Bud could adjust, right? Sick of this guy never adjusting.
About that, I pulled some stats. I'm apparently a stat guy now. Bud playoff career game 1 record. So this is with the Hawks and the Bucks. He's 8-11, and the rest of the time in the playoffs, he's 46-33. With the Bucks, his game 1 record is 5-7, and the rest of the time 38-22. It's a shame. It's a shame he can't adjust.
At what point is he just lulling people into a false sense of security?
That's what I said. He's trying to build that underdog mentality.
He's just I'm Bud. I don't know how to adjust. I'm just going to do drop defense. Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Spo. And then, boom.
I think you guys are both on the right track, but it's more so that he lets the team play how they played all regular season and just see where that gets them.
He's a huge feel-out game guy.
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly.
It's what you have to do in a playoff series. It's not a one-game thing. You have to see what you learn throughout the series. You have to feel it out. You have to see what's going to work, what's not going to work, and then press the right buttons. That's how it works. And Bud's really good at that.
Yeah. I think this will be
do better in game 1s, but it's just you can't be perfect.
I think this will be evidenced a lot to see if they go back to Brook inside out sort of basketball in game 3. If that's the case, then it's pretty clear that that's what this is what's happening. Yeah. Also, notably not good in game 1s is the best player of all time, LeBron James. That was that crazy record.
LeBron is a feel out game guy too.
So
we're saying that Mike Budenholzer is the LeBron James of coaching.
He's racking up some numbers. Hey, we'll see. What was I going to say? It's funny that the thing that people were most pissed about, I think, in game one, outside of just the result, but coaching-wise, was can't let Bam have all these jumpers. And that same thing happened again, and he shot as well, and it just didn't matter at all because everything else was different. I just thought that was kind of funny. It just
They stayed higher, though, in the beginning. Like, they stayed more attached.
Yeah, I think a bit for sure, but I do think the Bucks were not the Bucks clearly did not come away from game one saying we can't let Bam shoot mid-range jumpers. I don't think they mind.
That would be just incorrect.
It's ingrained in Bud DNA that they are willing to live with that.
I got two more fun quotes. Oh, what do you got, Numac?
Of Bam's, I think he made 9 shots, right? Yeah, 9 for 16. 5 came at the rim, 4 came outside, like in the mid range, and most of his misses came out from the mid range as well. They're gonna give Jimmy and Bam the mid range game the entire series, and it's gonna give me acid reflux. It's gonna drive me bonkers.
The Bucks are up by too much in this game for me to get acid reflux. Also, I'm taking a victory lap. I called the Jimmy 2 for 4 3-point game on the pod I did.
You did.
And it happened, and again, it just didn't matter. But yeah, I was like, yeah, of course he's going to have at least one of those games. I'll shoot 35% and take 10 threes all season, but then playing the Milwaukee Bucks, time to shoot 40% over 5 games. It's frustrating. Okay, 2 more. The Ingles quotes are just insane right now. So apparently Joe Ingles said he invented the keep ball up. We talked about this earlier on threes, the catch, keep it high, and shoot. This is Pat on Joe saying he was the first to develop the catch high, keep high. Quote, Joe's like 45, so he probably did it before I did. I'm only 30. If he wants credit, the old man can have the credit. They're all having some fun with that. And then
Eric Dame hilariously quote tweeting, is that Gabe Stoltz's tweet?
Stoltz, at Stoltz3, Gabe Stoltz had it originally.
Eric Dame quote tweeting, feels like every Bucks teammate is just dying to give it back to Ingles publicly.
I love it. I have an epic quote. Do we want to talk about anything before that? Anything else?
Let's hear it.
Yeah. This is from Brook. I'm going to a game knowing they're without Giannis. This is from Stoltz as well. Quote, we're blessed with a very deep team. Like PC, Pat Connaughton, stepping up tonight. We had multiple guys step up tonight and have big games. Everyone's ready. Everyone has the right mentality coming into the game. The mentality it takes to be a Milwaukee Buck. There's no one above anyone else. We're just out there trying to win. That's it. I love everything the Bucks are about.
Is it game 3 yet? Is it time for game 3 yet?
Thankfully, they have a couple days off for Giannis's hindquarters, but I am ready to run through a wall. I almost feel like Rohan, when we first started talking about Bucks culture, it was basically, and this is fitting, it's against the Heat. It was basically like, it was a counter meme. I don't know how serious it was. And in the 4 years we've been doing this, it's totally real. It's totally a real thing. They had to dump Serge Ibaka to the recording studio because he was the one opponent to it this season. Someone point out the lie. And I just think it keeps them together. It makes sure that they don't do something stupid and drastic after something like last year's Boston series. And it's the reason they're here, and I think the reason they're going to win another championship this season. I love it. I'm high on the Bucks. I'm very high on the Bucks right now. Very excited.
How can you not be?
How can you not get romantic about Bucks culture?
Go follow all the Bucks beat reporters, but especially Stoltz. He has all of the good quotes always. He had a very long one from Pat that I'm not going to read, but even Pat knows that he's a 16-game player because he talked about, this is like the middle part of a very long quote, but he says, this is the time of year where if you look back since I've been in Milwaukee, I've always tried to rise to the occasion. Like,
hell yeah.
He knows. So look out for Pat in games 3 through 5 and the rest of the playoffs.
Jordan, do we have a tweet of the game?
Tweet of the game? I did not look for
there was a pretty interesting one earlier.
There was a very interesting one that
got deleted. I know what you're talking about.
Did it get deleted?
No, he put it back up. He fixed the typo.
Oh, I thought it was just like state secrets.
Bud can't get a handle on assistant coach Mike Dunlap. That's not happening. He's a loose cannon. It's like Khris. He had to give him some leash. Same dynamic.
How about this? How about this tweet that may look, or I don't know, it had foresight. This is tweeted at April 18th, 5:41 p.m. It starts with what Adam has called a Dunlap staple. If you ask me, unusual idea. Hold out your two best players from practice here and there. Why? Practice without them allows others to shine and works on premise of next player up. Also, should you want, have them make practice play and have both coach for that day.
Wow, that's fun. That's a good one.
So did he say Giannis and Wes Matthews are the two best players on the team?
You're damn right.
Did he say that
You're
Bucks
damn
Heat
right.
is practice?
Ooh.
I love that it's a tied series and the Bucks lost home court and we're immediately back to like these fucking bums.
We're back. We're all the way back.
His tweet today was one of the best tweets I've ever seen. The Zoom one.
Read it, Numac.
Yeah, you
Heard this today. Zoom
It's-
meeting. Our team can have an a-hole, but not an ass. Point. No need to take a chance on bad character. One that has already put stink on another team. Stay true to your
That's-
values.
I think that's Serge Ibaka.
Waiting for that one. There it is.
What's the at? Like, can we credit Coach here?
At Coach Mike Dunlap.
That's a great at for him.
Verified on Twitter, by the
That's
way.
strong. Oh,
Well,
It's gone tomorrow.
it's
Yeah.
today now. Happy 420, everyone.
yeah.
AKA Twitter Blue Verification Removal Day
Well,
and nothing else.
nothing else. Nothing else.
In Wisconsin.
Can we click? What's his blue check?
It says this account is verified because it's subscribed to Twitter Blue or is a legacy verified account.
He's a
Yeah,
legacy.
I think he's
I believe he's
government
not paying. It's government funded.
yeah.
It's Budenholzer funded. Do we have any
What's
other
it said?
thoughts on the
No, I
game?
think if I accidentally called Bud a Fed, it's time for us to wrap it up.
2 seconds. I won't even do any quotes. That the Haslam thing went through officially. Have we talked about that on pod at all or said
Oh,
that?
we haven't.
No.
We'll talk about it after the playoff run, man. I mean, it's relatively good news, I'd say. There was a Q&A today with Edens, Haslam, and some reporters, and Haslam basically reiterated, like, they're doing it well. Like, I want to learn from them. Edens is going to do the first 5 years. We agree on stuff anyway. It's not like we're going to do things drastically differently. And I think probably the most pertinent one to this conversation, asking about the tax, Haslam, quote, we're committed to winning. We talked about that early on. Edens, quote, yeah. So I think nothing to, I know, really strong stuff from West there. It's, I'm just reading this transcribed.
We've killed Jordan.
We've killed Jordan. Edens, quote, yeah.
Incredible.
Oh.
That's a man who's like, I cannot say anything else besides yeah.
Oh
Because
my
he's on the
God.
clock. He's on the clock. He can't say anything because he's immediately going to be talked about, like his decisions.
Yeah.
In fact, whether they pay the tax or not.
Oh.
The only
That
quote
was
I
good.
care about from Haslam talking about
This is per the Athletic, by the way, at least mine is.
Yeah. from Eric Dame. These guys have done a hell of a job, so we're going to be quiet and listen and learn. And if we can help down the road, that's great. Good. Be hands off, my guy.
Edens, yeah.
Yeah.
Jordan Treske, quote, yeah.
Yeah. The question was, sir, this is your hand. Is this your hand? It's way too late. I'm getting goofy. I can already tell.
Somebody hit the Rohan outro button. Unless he's got a rant in him. Who knows?
No, I'm good. What is there to rant about?
I don't know.
It's good times, good basketball. It's just good vibes all around. So with that, we'll wrap this up. Say thank you for listening to this GSPN crossover. Make sure you subscribe to this feed and Talk of the Tundra and Cruising for a Bruising and Make Time for This. All links are at gspn.info, but make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast platform of choice or watching this on YouTube. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating on your podcast platform of choice. Check out gspn.info, like I mentioned earlier, for all our links, including all the pods, merch, Substack, Discord, playback. All our links are up there. Pod random, and we will talk to you next time.